Is this focusing on my face? I hope so. I have a 6-pound bag of gummy bears. I didn't buy these. But I'm not mad about it. Hey guys, it's Lydia and I'm back today with an exchange video. It's been a quick minute since I've made one of these, but today I really want to talk about the Rotary Youth Exchange rules, specifically the 4Ds, which if you don't know what they are, let me tell you. We'll get to that, well, we'll get to that in a minute. For those of you that have never seen one of my videos before or are unfamiliar with my exchange history, if you will, in 2015-2016, my senior year of high school, I went to France on a long-term Rotary Youth Exchange, and then again in 2017, the summer of 2017, I did an NGSE Rotary Exchange to Brazil for 3 months. So I've been on exchange twice. I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on how things are run to a certain degree. I am by no means an expert. With all that said, let's get into it. So you've applied for the Rotary Youth Exchange, you've been accepted to interviews, and then after interviews they're like, hey, we want to send you somewhere. And so you're like, great, I want to go somewhere. And so you're either waiting to find out where it is that you're going, or you know where you're going but you just haven't left yet. At some point you're going to have a outbound orientation, and this is with your home district. So where you're from, your district will get all the exchange students who are going out that year, and then they might bring in past exchange students to talk a little bit to you about how things are going to go, and they might even bring in some current exchange students that are from other countries. Now, depending on the environment, you may or may not have time to talk alone with the ROTECs, the past exchange students, the current exchange students, and for me, I didn't get the chance, and I wish that someone had sat me down and been really honest about how the rules work, because it's not as straightforward as those in Rotary would make it sound. Now, before you go to your country that you're going to be living in for however long it is that you're going for, you'll sign a contract with your host country about their rules that you have to follow. And then also, when you get to your host country, wherever it is that you're going, you'll sign a contract that has their rules. And they're going to be different. They're going to have different rules about different things. But the one thing that will remain the same between the two contracts are the 4Ds. These are kind of like your core base rules. Follow these with Rotary and you shouldn't really have any issues. These are like, I joke that these are like the legal rules. Like, these are the ones that Rotary has to have to keep everybody in check. And so the 4Ds stand for no driving, no drinking, no drugs, and no dating. And that dating one is more sex specifically, but they didn't want to be like the 3Ds and the 1S, and that doesn't sound as cool. So the 4Ds. I'm not going to be talking about other rules today because it just varies so much between district to district, and that you'll kind of have to feel out on your own. With that said, each district in each country has their own relationship with the 4Ds, specifically the drinking, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but I'm going to talk about each one individually and then as a group as a whole, so we can kind of get an idea of how they should be approached, what if you're going to break them, and how to do so smartly. So I think the biggest thing to take away is that the majority of exchange students break the rules, whether they're with a different program or they're with Rotary. I don't know about other programs really. For the most part, I can really only speak about Rotary because that's what I have had my experiences with. But in terms of the rules, exchange students break the rules. Out of all of the exchange students that I've ever met, which has got to be upwards of 150 at this point, if not more, it's actually probably way more than that. But I only know one exchange student who has said that they have never broken the 4Ds. The reason that these rules in particular are put into place by Rotary are to keep you safe. It's also the best way to keep a bunch of teenagers who are minors and in a really stressful situation under control. However, like I just said, most exchange students break at least one of these rules over the course of their year, or even if you're doing a short-term exchange for a month to 3 months, you still will at least have the opportunity to break the rules at some point. Whether you do break the rules or you choose not to is completely your choice. Now, most of you will choose to break the rules. So, how do we do so safely? Okay, let's talk about dating. There's a couple reasons that this rule is in place, but specifically, I think there's an emphasis on no sex. Because, A, they don't want you bringing home a +1 or leaving a whole new person in your country when you leave if you're a male and have that ability. But 2, also, think about the world of STDs you're literally about to be opened up to. So many opportunities. If you think for whatever reason, A, if you're sexually active before you go on exchange, or if you're not and you feel like you might be, if you're a female, get on birth control. It's easy to A, take with you, or B, have your prescription filled in your other country. Birth control is one of those things that's easy to get everywhere for the most part. If you think it's even a possibility, just get on birth control. Do yourself a favor. You really don't want to get pregnant on your exchange. Talk about a downer. So, get on birth control. Also, maybe think about taking some other forms of contraceptive, specifically condoms. Again, you'll probably be able to buy condoms in your country. If not, you can buy them online and have them shipped to you. Literally, Amazon ships everywhere. Think about taking some condoms, especially if you're a guy. Not only for contraceptive reasons, but also you'll have the opportunity to sleep with exchange students who are from all sorts of other countries, and you have no idea what kind of STDs they might be carrying. I would say be smart, make sure you have condoms with you if you're gonna have sex. Make sure you're not gonna get pregnant and you're not gonna get an STD, because both are gonna suck to deal with on your exchange. Okay, so in terms of the dating part though, the other reason is they don't want you to end up in a serious relationship. Mostly because your year is going to come to an end and you and whoever you're in a relationship with will most likely be separated. And that is a really taxing emotional experience. And you don't want it to be a negative thing. Again, whether or not you end up in a serious relationship is your own prerogative. If that's something that happens, then it happens. But you have to go into it knowing that it's going to end. You don't just get to stay if you decide you want to stay at the end of your year. So, keeping that in mind, let's start with driving. I have a different feeling towards this one than I do the other 3, but for me, this is the stupidest rule to break because you shouldn't need to break it at any point. There isn't really a good reason, and honestly, it's probably the most dangerous of all of them. Especially if you're in like a European country, you will get so used to using public transportation that there shouldn't be any need to drive. As an American, I missed driving a lot. I had just gotten my driver's license when I went to France, but I was never in a position where I was like, oh, I should just drive there. I never had access to a car, so I wasn't even ever given the opportunity. I know that's different especially for the kids that are coming to the US, but honestly, it's so dangerous, especially if you've never driven before. Like, talk about risking the lives of not only yourself and the other people in your car, but also those on the road. A little bit different situation if you're like with your host family out on a dirt road somewhere and they're like, hey, you want to drive? Again, make that decision for yourself, be safe. If you feel like you're not gonna kill everybody in the car and you're not gonna ruin the car, whatever it is, just be smart, use your brain. Just say no. It's not that hard to just be like, no, that's okay, I don't feel comfortable with that. Or, no, I don't really know how to drive, so I don't think that's a good idea. Like, you can say no. You should say no. Driving is just this, to me, that's the stupidest one. Like, that should be a no-brainer. So, driving, just don't. So, now let's talking about drinking and drugs, because these two, for me, fall under the same umbrella. The drinking is the one that you will be faced with the most. Maybe less so if you're coming to the US, where the drinking age is 21, but if you're going to another country, access to alcohol is going to be, especially if you're leaving from the US, access to alcohol is going to become so easy, like unbelievably easy. And you may even be offered it at Rotary events or by your host family. And this is the rule that probably varies the most from district to district. I know of districts that almost omitted this rule in that they're like, yeah, there's this rule, but if you're with your host family, it's fine. None of my host districts were that way, but the reality is that alcohol is a really strong part of any culture, including the US. The difference is how accessible it is in other countries. Being in France, for example, the only places I can think of that I remember carding were grocery stores, but that's not your only option in terms of buying alcohol. There's tons. Most bars didn't card. There were convenience stores, most of them didn't card. And even if they did, for a lot of the time, students had fake IDs. In terms of the drinking, this is the one, like I said, this is the one that you're going to be faced with most, and your district may be lenient on it. Whether or not you decide to drink, again, is your own decision, but keep in mind that that rule is there to keep you safe. You don't want to get alcohol poisoning, but also when you're intoxicated, this goes for drugs too, but when you're intoxicated, you can't make great decisions for yourself necessarily, and especially in a foreign country where you don't speak the language and might not be able to communicate very well with the people around you, it's really important that you have a good support system. So if you are going to be under the influence of whatever it may be, make sure that you are with people that you trust, or at least have someone with you that you trust. You want to make sure that the people that you're surrounded with are going to look out for you. Those people a lot of times will be other exchange students. Same goes for drugs. The biggest one is marijuana, weed. You will be completely shocked by how many people smoke weed. Host families, kids at your high school, people that you meet out and about, like the kids from other countries. I would say if you're going to venture into the world of pot while you're on your exchange, if you're gonna do it, maybe do it with someone who has some experience. Again, this is just a safety thing, like that way they can help you through it in case you don't handle it well. In terms of hard drugs, like heroin or cocaine, or if you're coming to the US, our new favorite, fentanyl, whatever it may be, I would say hard drugs outside of marijuana I have a very different feeling about. Don't do them because it's stupid. It's a really easy way to totally screw up your life. It's so easy to get addicted to. It's easy to overdose, especially if it's something that you're not familiar with. It's how it'll get you arrested real quick. And the same goes for marijuana. Like if you get caught with weed, that's a really good way to get sent home or even arrested. But then the one thing about marijuana is A, you're not gonna get addicted to it. You can't. And B, you can't overdose on it. In terms of hard drugs, pretty much outside of marijuana, I would say just don't. Mostly, you shouldn't do them in your regular life anyway. With all of these, make sure that you're being safe, you're being smart, and you don't get caught. Getting caught will send you home. And so if you feel like you're gonna put yourself, if to you it's worth risking, then that is your own decision and you will make that yourself. But I would say for the most part, having those drinks that one night when there's a risk that your host family might find out or whatever it is, or Rotary might find out, just don't. Same with the drinking and the drugs and the driving, even the dating, like keep in mind what you put on social media as well. And for the most part, you'll know, of course, if there are people in Rotary that are following you on social media, but they can, for the most part, they'll be able to see all of that. And also other kids will be posting pictures. Some of them are more bold than others, and some will post pictures of themselves drinking or whatever it is. Most of them won't, but just keep in mind if there are pictures and everything, make sure you know that you tell whoever has taken the pictures that you don't want them on social media. That's a really good way to get in trouble real quick. Rotary will see it, and if Rotary doesn't see it, your host family will see it, or someone will. So if you're going to break the rules, be safe when you do it, make good decisions, make sure you're with people that you trust and you're not putting yourself and others in danger, of course. Oh my god, I sound like my mom. Bleh. But it's true, those rules are put in place to keep you safe. But the one thing that I will say is that there is something to be said for the experience of breaking the rules, and whether that's a positive experience or a negative experience, it is part of being an exchange student. You will most likely break them. You may go, my laptop is restarting. You may go on your exchange, you may get on that airplane and you may say, I'm not going to break any of the rules. And you might, if you really want to stick to it, great. But think about, you know, you do want to keep in mind that your circumstances are really going to change. You as a person and your perspective on things are really going to change. You don't want to completely think about not breaking the rules, because you need to also be prepared for what happens if you're put in a position where you might. You want to definitely give it some thought ahead of time. And finding other past exchange students or current exchange students in the places that you live are going to be really valuable resources to you, because they can tell you a lot more about district rules, how they're enforced. Just, yeah, I don't know, be smart. Rotary has those rules to keep you safe, and if you're going to decide to break those rules, you then are responsible for keeping yourself safe. You really do have to look out for yourself, look out for your friends, look out for your fellow exchange students, specifically girls, look out for each other. I mean, I'll let you put 2 and 2 together. You know, bad things happen, there are bad people out there. Being in a foreign country elevates things a little bit, just because getting arrested has a lot of consequences that are maybe more dire than if you're in your own country. It makes things more complicated, and also it just ruins your exchange. Those rules are there to keep you safe, but, you know, I would be lying if I said I regretted breaking the rules that I did, because there were valuable life lessons to be learned. I have some great memories. I have some not so great memories. It's just like anything else. There will be positives and there will be negatives, but you have to make that choice for yourself and accept the consequences, whatever they may be. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to message me on Instagram. That's the easiest place to talk to me. You can leave comments down below, which is an option too. I just don't check them very often. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when I put out new videos, which is rarely, but you know, in case you want to know. Hope this helped some of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.